Where a pro-Palestinian protest has been broken up now. Jason Allen, what is the very latest as we reset here and we check in with you? What are you seeing?
Ken, we're in a bit of a quiet period right now. I don't want to say a standoff, but everything is just sort of maintaining a period of calm right now. A few minutes ago, we showed you that there were pickup trucks that have been coming here to the encampment that had been set up right over here in the middle of a couple walkways here at a mall in the center of campus. The trucks have been brought in. They had filled up the back of the beds with as much of the tents and the awnings and the food that had brought in as they could, and then they went out, presumably to dump that off and then come back and make another trip. So in the meantime, law enforcement officers have been just basically holding the line. They have been keeping all of the protesters that you see here back from what was that main encampment area. Another interesting thing I've noticed here in the last 10 minutes or so is, when officers originally came in and they started making arrests very quickly, some of those first arrests, I know some of them were not students, I'll mention that, because the group had been inviting people from the community to come in. So some of those first arrests, clearly not students. But then after that, some of the first arrests we saw were some of these student organizers who had been here throughout the day. People that we had talked to. Whenever we tried to talk with someone, we were directed back to these organizers. They were the ones who were the voices, the mouthpieces. They were leading the crowd in chants. They were basically setting the agenda for the day. They're gone now. So it's kind of been left up to the crowd that was here and joining and following along to pick up and take the lead. So clearly some of them still have been able to get some of those, the bullhorns and the PA systems, and try to pick back up with some of the chants that they heard here during the day. Also noticed in the last 5 minutes or so that there are now people who are bringing in more supplies. So although we see some of the items on the supplies being taken away that were in the center of the encampment, we've seen people bringing in more things to drink and more snacks, I think, to try to keep the protesters that are here for as long as they possibly want to stay, Ken and Karen.
And Jason, who knows? I mean, maybe it'll grow throughout the evening. It's important to point out, though, and to mention, as you've reported throughout the last hour here, Jason, the university's not against the protests. They're not against what the folks have to say. They're very stern about those encampments. That was not to stand, and obviously it is not standing anymore. But as far as the protests are taking place behind you, that's still okay as long as it remains orderly.
Right. There are a couple of really lines that were drawn here by both sides. University saying we absolutely support your right to protest and have your speech, but we are not going to allow you to set up an encampment here. That's what crosses the line. On the other side, the line that the protesters set up for us today was, we want you to succumb to our demands. We gave you a series of demands. You haven't done anything, so we're going to stay here for as long as we need to. Those demands, I'll remind you again, it's very similar to what we have heard at other campuses really across the country. There seems to be a few differences depending on where they are, but they wanted the university not to invest anymore with companies that are associated with war. They also wanted the university to come out publicly with a public statement asking for a ceasefire in Gaza. They hadn't been able to get either of those commitments from the university. They were also upset that the university not only met or tried to meet with them last week, but also met with a group of Jewish students. They didn't think that was something that the university should have done, but because of that was one of the reasons that they said they were not going to leave this area at all today. They had intended to stay throughout the night. And here, what you're seeing now, if you saw law enforcement who is moving in down the sidewalk behind me, what we're about to see, and sorry to break my train of thought there, what we're about to see is some of these pickup trucks that are going to come back onto campus. So these are likely the same ones. Yeah, they are. These are the same ones that were here, within the last 20 minutes or so. Law enforcement kind of clearing a path for them on the sidewalk. They're going to come in here, pull back up to where this encampment was, and we expect, Ken and Karen, they're going to load back up with what remains of the tents and all the supplies that had been brought here. And remember, they were bringing supplies to last as long as they needed to. They didn't really put an end on when this would happen. They said the end would happen when the university gave in to what they wanted.